Okay, you all set?
Yes,
You know, they only care when there's gunshots out here. You know, when there's some good news, it's more difficult. And it's funny how people can't find Petro when there's good news, but have no problem when there's bad news. Thank you all very much for coming out today, and we are here to talk about some good news out here in Petro, and specifically reflecting on the good news associated with the federal stimulus plan. A lot of people, in fact, there's not a day that goes by where people don't come up to me and ask, what does this federal stimulus and recovery act do for me, for the city and county of San Francisco? And one of the things that we'll be communicating in the next few weeks is more specific detail as to what this Recovery Act is going to do to improve the lives of people throughout the city and county of San Francisco. No more important place to do that from my perspective than here in a public housing site that clearly is a site that has been needing and wanting and desiring more federal dollars. Remember, this is a federal public housing site. The federal government is the landlord here, not the city and county of San Francisco. While the mayor's office does provide some governance in terms of federal dollars, that goes through a commission. At the end of the day, most of that capital, in fact, almost all of that capital, and I say most and almost all because we are supplementing a bit of that, comes from the federal government. The new Recovery Act that was approved and adopted and advanced by Congress and President Obama includes $17.9 million specifically for capital improvements this year at our public housing sites. That represents, just to put that in perspective, a 48% increase from the overall capital budget, basically 50% increase from what we've experienced in the last few years. That is not insignificant. When you consider that San Francisco and the city's general fund has been trying to supplement some of the federal cuts, this reduces that pressure in the next year and substantially does more than what the city could do on its own, so that the federal government becomes more responsible for its public housing units. That $17.9 million will do the following, and that's what we wanted to talk about in more detail and specificity. We've identified 178 jobs that will be directly attached to that $17.9 million. These are jobs, weatherizing units. There'll be over 300 units that will be weatherized. Over 1,800 units total will be impacted within the portfolio at public housing because of that $17.9 million. In addition to the work of weatherizing and reducing the energy consumption and costs in our public housing units, there'll also be work to improve public safety and life safety, in particular areas associated, for example, with maintenance or the replacement of fire alarms. One of, again, many examples of how these dollars will be used. In addition, you don't see as many right here, but you go throughout our public housing portfolio and you'll see a lot of housing units that are boarded up, a lot of housing units that are not being utilized. I think, Henry, you have, 300 Absolutely. Units of housing that you have identified that will be quickly converted and made available for families. 300 families will have the benefit of this $17.9 million to see those units come back online. That's a big deal. So we're here to just celebrate some of that work. We're here to reference some of that. I think it was 1,231 units that are being weatherized, if I'm not mistaken. Not the 300 I mentioned, 1,231 units specifically. But again, 1,800 units overall, 300 plus units that are boarded up that will be back online, life safety enhancements and weatherization enhancements. And finally, and I know this is important to a lot of the residents here at Petro, the money, capital dollars, will be made available first for Hunter's View, which is not insignificant to Petro, to begin the process, or rather to continue the process of our local Hope 6 strategy. And what that means is that fast tracks the expectation that we will then choose our second site for rehabilitation. Huntersview was the first site. Potrero is right on the top of that list, as you all know. And so reducing that stress in terms of those capital dollars just pushes Potrero up the queue. And so that's another not insignificant part of this $17.918 million contribution. The key now is to use the money wisely, thoughtfully, and deliberatively. That's the job of Henry Alvarez and his team. And so, Henry, I'll turn this mic over to you. You can talk more specifically about how soon, and I know it is soon, you're going to see this money spent and how these jobs will be created and what specific projects are first up.
Well, Mayor, thank you very much. I first want to say thank you to the mayor and to his staff who have been extremely helpful in us securing these funds. But as the mayor mentioned, about $2.6 million of this money is obligated here in Potrero, primarily to deal with weatherization, lead-based paint abatement, and vacant units. And if you look up Connecticut, we're just going to march right up Connecticut. The point that I want to talk about is the transformation and reformation of the Housing Authority. The HUD made this announcement about this money. We turned the paperwork around in 24 hours. We got the announcement last Thursday that we could start to spend this money. We started spending this money on Monday. So within 4 days, we were on the street ready to go. I made what has become a signature moment where I had the shovel in my hand ready to do the work. Well, we've got the shovel in our hand and the work has begun. If you look around you at all these folks in these lime green vests all over the place, that's what they're doing. This is a function of the stimulus. We've done some of this work at other properties. Now we're here at Potrero to make a difference. And my goal, to be very candid about it, is to be as transparent and as efficient and deliberate as we possibly can be so that we can change the lives of our citizens that live here in our public housing. So with that, I just want to say thank you to the mayor because he gave me the job. Appreciate it. And to the rest of you that are in my team and my commissioner out there, Mr. Brown, who for doing the work, thank you very much. We look forward to making things better.
Thank you. Thanks, Henry. In addition, and Henry referenced, and I appreciate you bringing up the lead-based paint strategies. There was an additional $3 million above and beyond that 17.9 I referenced for lead-based paint abatement that went through and is going through the Mayor's Office of Housing. And perhaps, Doug, you can talk just briefly about how those dollars are being distributed. Sure. And how the housing units here will be benefiting from that.
So the Mayor's Office of Housing runs a lead-based paint abatement program. We do it in partnership with the Department of Public Health and the Department of Building Inspection. And part of the way it works is that as people encounter children either at Head Starts or any other location around the city that look like they're suffering from lead-based paint, we get referrals, and then we work with landlords and residents to go and remediate lead-based paint exposure in all of those developments. We had applied for funds last round under a big federal notice of funding availability. They didn't have enough money left, and as soon as the stimulus funds went forward, they automatically gave us the funding because our project had been kind of next in line to receive funding. So that'll flow through our doors. It won't directly serve public housing. It'll serve other affordable housing and privately owned rental housing throughout the city.
Very good.
Thanks.
That's just specifically two examples of where these dollars are going. That represents about 21 million of what we hope will be in excess of $250 million. And again, we're still fleshing out the details on the formula versus the competitive grants. And we'll have all of this up online at recoverysf.org. We think we'll have the first website of its kind in the U.S., a city that will parrot or mirror the federal website so that you'll have complete transparency on where these dollars are going and specifically how many jobs those dollars are creating pursuant to the mandate coming out of Congress. So with that, any questions? Yeah. Our tenant reps.
Hi, good afternoon and welcome everybody. Again, we want to thank the mayor, Mr. Henry Alvarez and Doug Schumacher for coming out in support of us, the residents in Potrero. And as you know, we are under major redevelopment, but yes, sir. Yeah, deal with the buses. And we want to thank everyone that's finally get the chance to hear the resident side of Betrayal, and you know, we've been needing this for the longest, and someone finally heard our cry. So we want to welcome everyone for coming out and listening to the residents. Thank you very much. My name is Eddie Kittrell. I'm the Vice President of the Resident Management Corporation in the Annex. Kittrell. 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 Pronounce it like it's spelled.
Hi. Wow. Beautiful day today. My name is Mariposa Tovte'e, and I'm the president of the Potrero Terrace Tenant Association for the terrace side. And my latest report with the rebuilding and of Potrero, all the residents are doing a great job with participating. And I thank you to all the residents of Potrero Terrace and Potrero Annex for the good job of working together with the Bridge Housing and the Housing Authority and the Mayor's Office for doing this process. Thank you.
Is there anyone who could specifically talk about just some improvements that you'd like to see in your lives or the apartments that you live in, some of the problems
well, thank you for the question, but I'll have certain residents who give the input of what we have been doing so far. Thank you.
Hi, my name's I'm short, okay. Hi, my name's Uzuri Peas-Green, and I'm a resident here at Potrero Hill. I've been one since 2001, and what I can say is, with the Bridge Academy and everything, what they've been doing, they've been having a lot of focus group, and the focus groups have been really, really done well. You know, they've involved all the community in so that they can try and figure out how they want to rebuild Potrero Hill, the different things that are going to happen inside as well as outside. And they've had different community meetings as far as town hall meetings up at the neighborhood house, bringing in people from all over, not just in the projects but outside of the projects, so that they can have a part in saying how the streets are going to go and everything, just a whole different renovations. What we'd like to see is better, you know, the security up here is very well. You know, I must commend that the substation over here, the officers, they really get in tune with the people up here, and so I commend their substation that they have over there. They also, what we need to have is a lot, like the community garden is a lot of people want. We want more facilities for the children to play. We also want more things for the young people. You know, no more things for the ages from like the teenagers, because the teenagers are kind of like dropped to the side, because we have things for the little kids but not the teenagers, so we need things for them also. And we want more daycares up here also. We're trying not to have any smoke shops or any more liquor stores. That's what we're trying not to have up here, because we have enough of those. We have two, we don't need any more. Okay. So, and then we also need senior buildings, you know, a place for the seniors to be able to go to. And it's just a whole bunch of things. And if you look, matter of fact, the next town hall meeting is at the neighborhood house on May 2nd, which is my daughter's birthday. I never tell her, she'll be 21. Okay, I'm saying it now. But it's on May 2nd, and it's going to start. We're not sure where it's going to be at yet. It's either going to be at the neighborhood house, the gym, or at Star King. So you can get with Bridge, and they will, or Mr. Newsom, he'll know. And then you can find out when they're going to have that, and it'd be something that's good for you to come to, because it's very positive. And then you'll be able to see a lot more of what they've been doing, because everything's coming in together. I think I said enough. Oh, it's U, Z as in zebra, U-R-I, and then Peas, like peas, P-A-S-E-Green with an E at the end. Okay.
So you heard about, this is the flavor of the complete rehabilitation along the lines, again, of what we're doing up at Hunter's View and that Hope SF, that $100 million, you recall, we put up 2 years ago in revenue bonds in order to leverage federal dollars, state dollars, and private dollars. They're going through a visioning process here at this site in hopes of being that second Hope SF site that would include these dramatic changes in child care facilities, workforce training programs, senior programs, as well as more recreational and arts and cultural programs, in addition to rehabilitating or rebuilding all these units. A portion of the stimulus dollars will go to the pre-development work and go to, for example, this big $6 million I referenced up at Hunter's View comes from that $17.9 million to get us that next level in terms of that Hope SF program. And Doug can talk a little bit more. We're trying to move these in parallel and not just wait for that and then we'll get to the next. We're trying to really fast track with Potrero and Sunnydale and 2 other sites, 5 specific programs, or rather 5 specific projects that will be done under the aegis of Hope SF. So this money does go to the pre-development work and offset money that would have come from the city's general fund.
So it specifically goes, the $6 million specifically goes for pre-development work at Huntersview, which I'm sure you're all familiar with. If you want more information about Potrero, there's a website which is called rebuildpotrero.com. And again, it's bridge housing in partnership with the Housing Authority and residents in the Mayor's Office of Housing. The other piece that is useful to know is, there was $4 billion appropriated nationally for public housing capital. $3 billion on this formula basis that the Housing Authority received, and another $1 billion in competitive funds that people will be applying through the HUD Secretary's office for. And so Henry could speak a little bit more to this, but it's our intention to apply for as much of it as we can from the Housing Authority, a combination of repair projects at the various Housing Authority sites, as well as some additional funds for Hope SF style projects. Certainly Huntersview will be applying, but we're looking into whether other sites can apply as well. The challenge is, as you know, with stimulus dollars, they got a very, very short time frame. So it's 2 years for 60% of the money to be spent and 3 years for 100%. So I don't know if you wanted to mention anything more.
Again, I just want to re-reference that. We're going to be at about $2.6 million of the stimulus package just here in Potrero, and just doing weatherization, lead-based paint abatement, and vacant unit reduction, and then getting these units ready for folks to live in. That's our #1 priority here. The priority for the stimulus was to correct vacancies in public housing complexes, and that's what's going to happen here. This is our largest complex with the largest number of vacancies. We've already started the process, and before long we'll have those units ready to go, and folks will have some place to live, and that'll be important. On the competitive side, there's $1 billion that's over on the other side of the aisle where all the housing authorities in the country will compete. We think San Francisco is well positioned to compete. As Doug mentioned and the mayor mentioned, the Hope SF product is about 2,500 units, of which we want to reposition, which includes Potrero. So in that regard, we think we're going to be well positioned to compete for those dollars, and should we win those dollars, then all of this work that we're talking about will move much quicker and go at much more lightning speed, and then you'll see the results much sooner. But as of right now, we're at $2.6 million directly here for Potrero, and then we're going to deal with the competitive process down the road. Those regs are supposed to be out before the end of April, so we'll have a sense of where we're going to go. Well, it's $11 million. It's going to be used throughout our entire inventory. We have 6,200 units. The majority of it is going to be used in the pre-development process for Huntersview, which is positioned to be. It means that all the work that's required to get it ready to be torn down and replaced, relocate families, and do all those kinds of things. Doug can speak more to that, but there's $11 million that we're using throughout our inventory to fix vacant units and get them ready to be leased, do lead-based paint abatement. We have a lot of young kids in our units. We want to make sure that lead isn't a problem. We also want to weatherize these units. We want to do energy. Now, we have another package that at some point the mayor will announce to you down the road that includes our position on energy efficient. But I don't want to steal all of his thunder in one day. Today we're going to deal with the stimulus, but he's got more things that's coming, and we're excited about those things. But for Potrero, which has been neglected, as the mayor mentioned, for a long time, we're coming back to Potrero to make a significant investment in the future of our young people here and our families here, and that's our #1 concern. So as we speak to that, I can't thank the mayor enough for saying let's go to Potrero and do this, because this is where we need to do it.
But Barbara, 1,800 units will be impacted by the $17.9 million.
And 300 are here, or those?
I don't know that they've done, no, 300 are boarded up overall. Of the 1,800, 300 are literally going to come back online. And that's why, again, 1,800 units, 300 new units will be made available to reduce the wait list for families. So 300 families will be the beneficiary.
And then just the other thing I wanted to clarify. So you didn't have to actually apply for this money. It was doled out. You had to fill out an application.
That's very important. I'm thanking the mayor in some publicly safe way, but the mayor was very instrumental in this. The Housing Authority of San Francisco has been an underperforming housing authority for many, many, many years, and there was some language in the original bill that may have excluded the San Francisco Housing Authority. And the mayor and his constituent of politicos throughout the country asked that we be included. And we received the second largest complement of stimulus funds in the state of California. And that's all due to this mayor. That's very important to understand. So without the mayor's impact, maybe we wouldn't be standing here having this conversation today. It would take me 3 times as long to get this work done. This mayor is significantly responsible for these funds. I can't express that enough.
Once you got in the mix, was it a formula?
It is a formula, but we could have been excluded from that mix.
And we're in, Barbara, and as Doug was referencing that $1 billion, now that's the competitive money that Henry and others, these guys all flew out to D.C. Remember the announcement? So all those teams, not all of them, but most have been out there front and center, and we're being very aggressive on the competitive side. And that's hopefully in the next few months you'll be hearing some announcements about these competitive dollars we've drawn down. And Hope SF is one of those areas. That $6 million, again, that we're using of the 17.9 is an area where we're really going to go after the competitive dollars to be able to draw down more for Pochero's version of what Hunter's View is doing, and the other 3 or 4 other housing projects throughout the portfolio are doing.
To use so much money for pre-development when you don't know yet whether you're going to get the competitive dollars?
Yeah, Doug, explain this, because
I jump on that, because when we say pre-development, I think it's a little bit of a misnomer in this case. So the state has these Prop 1C funds that I'm sure some people are aware of. So, a couple years ago, the state passed a series of bonds. Prop 1C was for infill infrastructure funds, and we are applying. The Hunters View team is applying for $30 million in infrastructure funds to rebuild the Hunters View site. And as part of the state competitive process, they provide additional points if you use federal stimulus dollars in that project. So we think by virtue of having the Housing Authority stimulus dollars in that application that we're going to be in a very competitive place to get those funds. If we get that $30 million, it'll rebuild the sewer, the water, the sanitation, the road, all of those systems at Hunters View that need to be done in advance of the buildings going up. So in that sense, it's pre-development, but it will be part of a first phase of construction that involves the beginning part. We've already received a $10 million allocation for that first phase. So it is pre-development in that sense, but it really is the first phase of construction. And if we're successful in getting it from the state, the applications are due April 1st, right, Kiri? Then we'll be looking at the timeline that we've always said we would be on, which is late summer, early fall of this year to begin construction at Hunters View. Does that make more sense?
Yeah, it seems like it's a little bit of a gamble if you don't know for sure if you're going to get the money to do pre-development work for something that isn't actually funded.
And I would say that we've already done the kind of the risk money really came from the city on this side in terms of the architecture and engineering and planning work with residents. That money's already been spent to get us to the place that we're at. This money is not kind of at-risk money. This is money that's going to be spent on the ground on things that need to be fixed at that site, regardless of what happens on the 1C front. So
we also, this is way too much information, but we also were very successful getting a lot of grants, foundation grants, particularly up there. So that was another for the most at-risk money, which has been expended. So.
On the vacant units, is it? I hear 200 or 300. Is it 300?
No, they're 300 vacant units.
And what's up with these units? Why are they vacant? What needs to be fixed there?
Well, let's talk a little bit about that. Again, that's why I'm here. For a long time, we weren't able to do any of that. And the city and county, and with the mayor's help and the Department of Public Works, came in and the residents helped us get some of these units just trashed out. But we still didn't have the capacity to get all 3 of them done in a reasonable length of time. That's why this stimulus is so important. We can now go in and get these units ready to go. Well, some of them will need plumbing, some of them will need window replacement, some of them will need repairs of all types. They'll need to be painted, they'll need to be refurbished, new sinks, new countertops, all of those kinds of things. And so once that's all done, families will be in them and they'll be able to live. Otherwise, those units would be sitting idle and we wouldn't be able to house families. And that's the I've been here about 8.5 months, so we've been starting to unempty them for that length of time. So it'll be 9 months here pretty soon. I'd like to do less of a look back and more of a look forward. I think the important part of this is looking forward to what we've done so far in a week. I mean, before this was all boarded up. It's not now. We're making some progress, and that's the energy that we want to keep going forward. Is not to look back, but to look forward.
When do you think they'll be ready then?
I hope within the next 90 to 120 days, and my staff understands that that's the mayor's expectations, that's my expectations, but more importantly, that's these residents' expectations. They're looking forward to it.
Say that since I live up here, I can say that they have been working very hard and moving very quickly and clearing out a lot of the empty apartments, a lot of the vacates. I mean, they've been doing double time, and I have seen that for myself. And I live up here, and they on my block alone, they hit like about 12 to 15 all up in one day. So they've been working very hard.
But Aaron, just so you know, as people move out, sometimes these get boarded up. So it's a constant and never-ending flow. It's just dealing with that backlog and then fast-tracking that backlog, and that's what we'll be able to get ahead now, as opposed to going through that process where we were making progress, but not the progress we need to. And this money will go a long way to actually now dramatically fast-tracking that. And that's not, again, insignificant. You got people been on the wait list for Section 8 for literally years and years and years, and those 300-plus families are going to get word that they are eligible now to move into units much faster because of this. Another point, you saw those young men, folks out here dressed in various colorful outfits. 178 jobs. I mean, this whole recovery and stimulus strategy is very much connected to the job retention and job creation. As you all know, we've been suffering, I guess including the directors. Yeah.
We're going to get one from there.
So, no, but there'll be 178
mean?
jobs retained, meaning we won't have to lay off, or created, associated with this $17.9 million.
Well, were you planning to lay people off? Is that?
Well, I mean, to the extent that we've been able to create new jobs and we don't have the pressure of a budget to actually eliminate jobs, and that's been the burden of Henry the last year and a half, is dealing with a lot of the pressures and balancing his budget, which is still not an easy challenge. And there have been layoffs, and there's going to be layoffs throughout the city. As you know, almost 1,100 slips have gone out. So a big part of this recovery package is keeping jobs and not having to move forward with pink slips, or not having to subsequently being able to create new jobs.
So what's the breakdown in terms of how many are new workers and how many are existing workers who would have been laid off?
We've done that math. Yeah, we've just done the math on the jobs.
The 178 jobs.
It was a 12-month analysis, and I'll give you the backup of it and when we get back to City Hall.
On the waiting list now, do you know?
Oh boy.
Oh, there's a lot.
Is it open or is it closed?
Yeah, the public housing waiting list is open. The Section 8 waiting list is closed, but it's a large number. It's more than
thousands.
It's in the thousands.
Many thousands.
Many thousands.
Can I ask a question to the Housing Authority? I understand that there are a lot of people in eviction processes.
No.
No? Not at all?
No.
I mean,
we are only addressing issues as it pertains to lease issues for those members of our customers who are involved in violent activity or drugs that are in the sale, manufacture, distribution issues. Those are the only issues we're dealing with. And
my question is, how long is the process usually?
It depends on the courts. It depends on how the legal process runs. Sometimes it can be very quickly. Sometimes it can take a little longer. But what I will say is that we are focused on bringing back our communities to decent, safe, and sanitary. So that's one of the things that we intend to do.
My concern is, at the same time, they're still here.
We're working on
And they're
it.
still doing their crimes.
We're working on it.
When they do their crimes, you call the police.
We're working on it.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That's
You keep your eye open. You're going to get new neighbors.
I hope good ones.
Yeah, you will.
So this work that's going on the shovel-ready projects, is it going on at all the housing
Yeah,
sites?
it's not just limited here. We happen to be here because we wanted to commend and honor the work that's been done by the community in terms of their Hope SF application, and also let the folks out here know that we get it, we care, and you're in the queue to get more money. But no, this is being done throughout the entire portfolio.
Can you give a brief sense of what other stimulus money has come to the city so far?
Yes, we'll be making lots of subsequent announcements to be more specific.
Is this the first big one?
These there's $67+ million that the MTA is going to receive. There's FMAP money that a lot of folks have talked about that will offset some of the cuts at IHSS and Medicaid.
But is this the first real money that's actually?
No, but it's I won't say it's the first because that would be unfair to suggest that. I mean, a lot's happening at the same time. This is sort of the first that we're able to communicate that actual construction and real work is happening, and we're able to be more precise about those 178 jobs. A lot of math and analysis goes into those jobs. We're not just throwing those numbers out, and so we're doing that with our entire stimulus.
But the city has actually gotten other stimulus money.
Oh, absolutely, and
Not
we're
just
getting
like
a lot more.
money, is that, or is this?
No, we'll be announcing. Literally the numbers keep changing, and the formula is dollars. We get more clarity on them, but as I said, in excess of $250 million. That's an accurate estimate as we stand here today.
Except for this public housing, like affordable housing, is that possible to happen in San Francisco with the help from this federal?
Well, we're going to have more money for more of. There's Mayor's Office of Housing has received millions and millions of dollars. I mentioned $3 million just for the lead abatement program. They've received also millions of other dollars for the rehabilitation. Of affordable housing and some other. It's while we're here. Thank you. Anyway, a lot more will be announcing soon. Thanks.
This is the first housing money, though. I presume. Is this right?
Yeah, public housing. Public housing.
Yeah.
If I may step in on the mail, I know we have a lot of people with questions, and I see a lot of new faces, but as a process, we advertise, we have community meetings. In our last meeting, we had over about 108 people there. And so we are advertising, Bridge Housing, they do mailers out. If you're interested in a lot of questions that cannot be asked here, we do have bi-weekly meetings, and they're scattered all throughout the neighborhood. So there's a website to find, there's flyers, there's mailers, and when you get those things, do not throw them away. Come to the meeting, and a lot of your questions will be answered because we have the developers right there on spot. We have housing right there on spot, resident participations, and a lot of your questions will be answered at those meetings. That's how you get involved by attending the meeting. So we don't have to come out here and have sidewalk meetings out here. We have meetings at the school where your children go, at the neighborhood house, anywhere you participate, there's a meeting. And we advise you to come to these meetings. Don't just stand back and get a flyer and say, oh, it don't concern me. It concerns you very much. So it's very important. This is going to happen. So we need your involvement, and we don't have to come out here on the sidewalk. All of your questions will be answered at the meeting. Thank you.
My name is Brenda Henry Cottrell. I'm president of the Resident Management Corporation in Potrero Annex, and I'd like to thank my mayor, Gavin Newsom. I'd like to thank Doug of the Mayor's Office of Housing. I'd like to thank Mr. Henry Alvarez, the ED of San Francisco Housing Authority, because they're doing an excellent job working along with Bridge Housing and the President Obama in Washington, D.C. to make this process go through. We trust the process. We believe in San Francisco Hope. I'm also a member of the Mayor's San Francisco Hope Task Force, and a student of the Mayor's and the San Francisco Housing Authority's San Francisco Hope Academy. So I'm really thrilled about this. I'm excited about it. We trust the process. We're going to be here to see it through. We trust our mayor. We like his leadership. We appreciate it. And we don't like you guys out here scrutinizing our mayor because he's doing an excellent job. Leave him alone about Potrero. And I'm serious. Back up off Potrero. Help us. Don't hurt us. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
We love you.
All right. Come to the meeting.
Thank you, Dad.